The a very pleasant good afternoon or good afternoon to you as we see here on the afternoon live. My name is Randolph Critchell. I want to welcome you to the rush this afternoon. Today is the 12th. It is Monday, the 12th of July, 2021. I want to welcome you to the afternoon rush, or as we say here, the rush. Welcome those persons joining us internationally in the region and right here in Guyana. Thank you very much for being a part of the broadcast this afternoon. Folks, it is Monday, and you know the Monday lineup. We normally have opening the batting for you with Randolph Critchlow at 5:30. We are a little bit late. Sorry about that. 5:30 with the rush, and then on Monday we have Building Bridges with MP Natasha St. Louis, and then of course we have, as usual on Mondays, every day we have Sher Duncan in the ring at 8 p.m. So thank you very much for being a part of the broadcast, being a part of what we're doing here on APNU AFC TV. Folks, let's unpack. Right, so we are back, folks. Welcome again. I say welcome to those persons joining us internationally, reaching the right here in Ghana. We see persons joining us from all over as we tune in this afternoon to unpack the credible and valid information. Joining us from Canada, Anastasia Crown. We have Toronto, Mr. Yap. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Folks, as we do it here on The Rush, let us know where you're joining us from. We always want to know where you are joining the program from on this Monday afternoon. Let us know where you're joining us from. Good afternoon to you, all our loyal viewers. If you are new to the program, remember to like the page. If you're new to the program and you're joining us from YouTube, remember to subscribe. Leave a comment. Good afternoon to you, Sandra. Let me see the last name there. People are saying good afternoon, Randy. I want to shout you back out. Sandra Facey, good afternoon to you. Joining us. Let us know where you're joining us from, Sandra, on this wonderful. Joining us, Brenda joining us from Florida. Thank you very much, Buxton. Lar joining us from Buxton. Let us know live and direct. Derek from Antigua joining us this afternoon. Stan Brown said he's joining us from the White House. I don't know how credible or valid that is, but welcome to the show this afternoon. Whether or not you're joining us from the White House. More joining us from St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, Troy Daniels. Thank you very much for being a part of the program this afternoon, folks. This afternoon is a different afternoon, you know. It's a bit different. Let me let you know that it is going to be different this afternoon because I want to speak from the heart this afternoon. Yvonne De Silva, thank you very much for the shout out. Andrew Mingo saying it's time for Guyanese people and the APNU to wake up and stop sleeping. Cuba just woke up. It's time for Guyana. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mingo, for that. Watching from Pocono. Thank you very much, folks, for joining us all over the world. Listening from Queens. Folks, you know I like my sports. You know I like to talk about the NBA. The series is 2-1, in favor of the Suns. The Bucks took one game last night, so you know the series is well poised right now. but we'll see what's happening there. For those persons who are in Milwaukee, those persons who are in Phoenix, let the celebrations continue. Good afternoon from Precious Minerals, coming all the way from North Ronville. Thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. Kenneth from Maryland and USA, thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon as we're about to unpack some credible and valid information. As I said, this afternoon, I'm going to be speaking from the heart. I am going to go unscripted this afternoon. I'm not going to be on script. So if you expect something very polished and unscripted this afternoon, forget about it. This afternoon, I want to talk from the heart because as a parent and as a teacher, I find what is happening in our society right now as very concerning. So allow me this afternoon, folks, if you will oblige, to let me speak from the heart. Let me speak from deep inside this afternoon. You know, I gave this a lot of thought. I gave it a lot of thought. And I want to speak from the heart. Gavin Liverpool said, box all the way, box. Well, you have a lot of work to do, sorry, if the Bucks are going to win that series. Folks, I will say to you this afternoon that, you know that I'm a sports enthusiast. You know that I'm an athletics enthusiast. Any sport I follow, right? So the Olympics is coming up, and I would want to hint to you now that on Sundays, I will be starting a Sport on Sundays show, Sport on Sundays, where we will discuss all that is happening in the world of sports, from golf all the way to car racing, from table tennis to lawn tennis, from cricket to badminton. We will be discussing everything sports. So those persons who are interested in sport, you can join me on Sundays. I'll be doing that program. But let me know. I just want you to know. Let's continue shouting out those persons who are joining us from NYC, Toronto. My friends are saying box all the way. Let me let you know right now. In the finals, I'm a Chris Paul fan. So I'm on the Suns train right now. Though I do appreciate Giannis and all he's doing, but I will tell you that I'm a Suns fan right now. I'm a Phoenix Suns fan, given that my team was eliminated. Right? So Lars says, Bucks got it, man. Bucks got it. Well, we will see. Right, Alexis is saying, joining us from Brooklyn. Thank you very much for being a part of the program this afternoon. But folks, as I said, Olivia, thank you very much for tuning in. France is in the house. Let us know where you're joining us from this afternoon, folks. New York is in the house. Thank you very much for being a part of the program. Karen McCoy said it's about time Christ get in the ring. I don't know exactly what you mean, Karen, but you can explain to us in the comments. Let us know. Lars said, I like sports. Right? It relieves the stress. Thank you very much. Of course, it relieves stress. Folks, congratulations to Argentina for winning the Copa America. Congratulations to Italy for winning the Euros. And of course, we're watching at the Olympics. We're watching at the NBA Finals, and we're waiting on the Olympics. A number of other sporting events happening around the world. The coronavirus would have pushed back a lot of events. So now we're having a real flurry of things happening. Watching from London, Queens, New York, Suns all the way, Cherry, Hungary. Says Suns all the way. We're going to deal with that. Trust me, folks. On Sundays, we are going to deal with sports as the Olympics is coming up. We are going to be dealing with sports in detail, in depth. Sports on Sundays. Join me from this Sunday as we talk about all that is happening in the world of sports. Congratulations also to the West Indies, the male West Indies team, senior team, for winning the first two T20 international against Australia. I'm quite happy about that. Our bowling has been clicking. We've been doing well. Of course, the World Cup, the T20 World Cup is coming up. The West Indies are the defending champions, so we're looking forward to an interesting competition there. Right, Gavin Liverpool says Bucks taking down the Suns in the same way they came back against in the Brooklyn series. Gavin, I know that you're hopeful, my friend. I know that you're hopeful. Karen McCoy says, when Chris Paul gets his championship. I would love to see Chris Paul get his championship, folks, before we get into all of the politics that's happening in Guyana as we speak. We just, as you share the live stream this afternoon, we're bantering and letting you know what's happening. Right? Somebody said freedom. Precious minerals. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. Share the live stream. If you're on YouTube, you can also share the live stream. Give us a subscribe. Subscribe to our page. We're trying to build that page on YouTube so you can keep up to date with what's happening with APNU AFC TV, folks. As I said, the program will not be that long today, but I want to speak from the heart today. Right? It's Reynolds from Belladrum, thank you very much for tuning in. Javon Brower says that I heard that Anil is in custody with the FBI on the investigation. Can someone address that for me? Please shout out West Indies women too. Yes, we will shout out the West Indies women who have been doing good. They won that series that they were involved in. Thank you very much for reminding me that the West Indies women have been doing really good also. I don't know about Anil being in custody. I saw a police report purported to come from the NYPD that has one Anil Nandalal. Anil Nandalal as one the suspects as part of this investigation. So I saw that. I'm reporting it as I'm seeing it on the internet, folks. I don't have any information to give you on that any other information to add as it relates to Anil Nandalal and that investigation by the NYPD. Alison Richards says, Randy, sorry to say, but just want the PPP out because I fed up. Oh my, Alison, we are all fed up. We are all fed up of this fraudulent regime running around pretending as if they are doing something good for Guyana. Well, we'll continue to watch. Folks, share the live stream. We're about to get to that magic number before we start unpacking. And as I said this afternoon, I am going to be speaking from the heart. I'm going to be speaking from the place that I have my personal opinion on what is happening in education, especially education, folks. Especially education, because we see the ministry has launched there because we care cash grant and uniform allowance. Now, let me say from the beginning, let me say from the outset that I have no problem with the uniform allowance. I have zero problem with the uniform allowance, which is about $4,000. And just know that today I will be unpacking in details why this $15,000 cash grant by the Ministry of Education is an utter waste of time. And how and show, I will show you during the course of the next 30 minutes or so how the Ministry of Education could have spent that $3.2 billion in a much more meaningful and impactful way. As a teacher and a parent of a child that is in the public school system at the primary level, I am telling you that this hurts me. It hurts me to see that the ministry has decided, the PPP government has decided to use $3.2 billion to give out cash grants, totaling $15,000. Folks, as I said, I am speaking from the heart today. I am speaking from the heart today. And I will let you know what I feel, and I will show you. I will put evidence on the table, folks. I will put evidence on the table that shows you quite clearly that these people in the PPP government don't really care about our children. They do not care about our children. Before we get to that, folks, let me just say good afternoon to all of the people in Berbice. Thank you very much for tuning in, Berbice. Let me share with you, of course, before we get too far in the program, let's give you a quick sneak peek at a bit of advertising here. Pure Cash Rip. Right, folks. Sisley's special homemade cash rip. Let's just shout out to those persons, the people who up there in Berbice who are producing this. We want to say thank you very much to them. Right? And you can get in contact with them, of course, from those numbers there on the screen. If you want some cash rip, and we know the Christmas is quickly approaching, and you will need your cash rip. 697-964-650-668-333-5460. Sisley special homemade pure cash rip, cassava cash rip. Right? You call that number and you will get in contact with them. New Amsterdam folks, get with the program. Get with the program. Let me put it up on the screen one more time so you can know who you have to contact for your cash rip. Right. Just give them a call and you will be able to get us. We know Christmas is quickly approaching. Folks, let me jump into this right away, folks. Let me jump into this. And I want to start this afternoon by saying to you that we see that the Ministry of Education has decided to give out cash grants. Let me say this, folks. Essentially, I have no problem with cash grants. Right? I have no problem with cash grants. As long as cash grants are enough to make a difference in the lives of the people who you're giving them to. Right? Right? As long as the cash grants are enough to make a difference in the lives of the people that you're giving them to. That is what I will say. Now, the Ministry of Education has decided that they will give, because we care, cash grants of $15,000. $15,000, folks. If you didn't know, now you know. They are giving uniform allowances of $4,000, but they are giving cash grants of $15,000. And I want to address this topic today. I was supposed to have a guest coming on, but I want to speak to you, my people. I want to get over this point because as a teacher and a parent, When I saw the amount of money being spent on these cash grants, it really brought tears to my eyes. And I'm not kidding here. I sat the other night and I felt tearful. Tears, my people, tears. Because I'm thinking about the amount of money. $3.2 billion would have been allocated for the Because We Care cash grant. And I want to pull up the picture because I want you to have some sort of point of reference. I want to pull up the picture. Allow me to get the picture, folks. Allow me to get the pictures for you. Right? Because it's quite interesting. And I'll get into why it hurts me. It hurts me to the core that we as a country would be doing such a thing. Let me get the picture for you. I want to pull it up. As I said, there are many. Let me pull this up for you folks. Miss Holder, school is supposed to be reopened in September. Just responding to some persons who are in the comment sections. Let me share this with you. Now, it says at the bottom here, the distribution of 2.3 billion. 2.3 billion in Because We Care cash grants to commence next week. Right? People are trying to call in. Let me just ensure that we are not disturbed, folks. Apologies for that. As people are trying to call in as we speak. Right? Sorry about that. Folks, let me say this to you. The ministry has decided that they will give $15,000 in cash grants. And they will give $4,000 in uniform vouchers. Now, why do I say this? You know, this first picture that is up here says that thousands of children have no access to education for lack of internet or a device. As a teacher, I can tell you that you ask any teacher that has been asked to teach online for the last year because of the pandemic, how many students did not log into their classes? There's a long list. Thousands of students, folks. This is just the one. The Ministry of Education, folks, have decided that they will give out $15,000 to each student. $15,000. How will this $15,000 impact your life, the life of your student, the life of your children? That is what I want to know. The Ministry of Education and the PPP government continues to give us a fish, to give the poor people fish instead of teaching them how to fish. Folks, how long will this $15,000 last? The PPP took over this government, the management of the resources of this government in the heart of a pandemic. When students were home, and instead of ensuring that those students who cannot access their education have access to it, they closed down the Ministry of Public Telecommunications. Parents will tell you that for the second term and the third term of this year, they had to print out their own worksheets. They had to print out their own worksheets. The Ministry of Education said that they didn't have money. Folks, this particular topic makes me extremely emotional, so you will forgive me today. You will forgive me because it was the Ministry of Education that said they don't have money to continue printing worksheets. They do not have money to continue printing worksheets, but they can find $3.2 billion to give $15,000 to each student. Folks, I ask for your forgiveness today. I ask for your indulgence because this hits it hits me really hard to see Priya Manik-Chan and the PPP government doing this foolishness with $3.2 billion. They are teachers who, for a year now, have been struggling to pay their internet bills. They are teachers who have been teaching via WhatsApp on their cell phones. They are teachers who don't have computers or a tablet to teach dozens of children. That is not an issue for the ministry. Instead of fixing that problem, the ministry has decided to spend $3.2 billion on giving $15,000 cash grants, essentially to the parents. Folks, I will, and I'm finished. We're not finished. There are students who have not attended an online class in over a year because they can't afford internet, they can't afford a device, they don't have a computer in the house, they can't use the mother phone, they don't have a phone. These students, their lives have been altered significantly because of the coronavirus and the fact that they have not been able to attend school in over a year. What is the ministry's response to that? Give them $15,000. That is going to solve the problem. And listen, you see all the foolish people who on the live right now talking about lies? I am not speaking any lies. I'm speaking the facts. The trolls should come on the live and say what they want. But I'm telling you, there are students who have not attended an online class in over a year because they can't afford internet. They can't afford a device. Listen to the testimonies of teachers who teaching from their phone. Listen to the testimonies of those parents who can't afford internet and the children home for a year now. Listen to it. And tell me if the ministry giving them $15,000 is not a waste of money. You are telling me that all of these bright people that supposedly in the PPP can't figure out a more meaningful way, a more impactful way to spend $3.2 billion? Folks, Alison Richards said people can't even afford to eat, much less pay their internet bills. Folks, we are in a serious position. But I will say this to you. I will say this to you this afternoon. I want you to listen to me carefully. That the PPP has all the incentives to keep people impoverished. Because you know who want this $15,000? The poorest of them. The poorest, the middle class, and the rich don't care about no $15,000 from the Ministry of Education. They don't care about that. That's an embarrassment. That is an embarrassment. That is an embarrassment. So, folks, let me say this to you. Let me say this to you this afternoon. That this hurts the deepest part of my heart. Because $3.2 billion could have been spent to give the poorest of our people, of our children, access to that education that they're missing now for a year. The Ministry of Education could have started by going to every single primary and secondary school and saying, let me get a list of the students who have not logged into your online classes for a year now. That will give you an indication of those students who can't. And let's provide them with a device. The Ministry of Education, instead of giving $15,000 to every parent, could have said, teachers, we know you have issues in terms of internet and devices. Here is a tablet. Here is some internet access that you can teach our children. But instead of doing that, the Ministry of Education has decided, you know what? Preposition Priya has decided that we will give everybody $15,000. And that is going to solve the problem. That is going to solve the problem, Priya. $15,000. That's going to solve the problem. We got to be making joke in this country. When politicians like Priya Manik Chan could come and give you $15,000 in a pandemic where your child has not attended school in a year, and hopefully that is going to solve the problem. It is utter foolishness. The PPP don't care about you or your children. They don't. If they had cared about your children, they would have put systems in place to ensure that they can access education. Instead, they rather go with the PR stunt of giving you $15,000. Give them a fish. Don't teach them how to fish. I said today, folks, I'm speaking from the heart. The Ministry of Public Telecommunications and the APNU AFC government forged a relationship with Huawei, the Chinese company, and the Chinese government. And they were getting many tablets. They were setting up internet hubs around the country. If this PPP government cared about your children, they would have contacted the Chinese government and said, listen, we need some devices for those children who can't access education because we don't have school as normal. They have to stay home. They have to stay home. But they don't care. This is a publicity stunt. And before I move from this topic, I want to highlight another issue. This $2.3 billion in cash grant will be giving each student a $15,000 in hopes that that's going to solve the problem. Huh? That's going to solve the problem. Hopefully that's going to solve the problem. Folks, that $3.2 billion is going to go back in the hands of the private sector. Because the parents are going to spend it. And the PPP friends in the private sector are going to be smiling. Because that $3.2 billion is going to go back to them. There are teachers out there, folks, who have been underpaid for years. This is a joke. You can't tell me that you giving $15,000 to each parent essentially is going to solve the problem that we have right now. We have bigger problems. $15,000 can't solve it. Can't solve it. Folks, let me welcome in MP Coretta McDonald, who knows a thing or two about education, who knows a thing or two about the plight of the teachers and the students in this country. Forgive me if I'm a bit emotional this afternoon. Forgive me. MP, good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon to you, Randy. How are you doing this afternoon? First of all,
I'm upset.
All right. First of all, I feel your pain. I just got in and I'm saying, wow, this is Randy this afternoon. This is Randy this afternoon. Then when I listened, then I recognized what you were talking about, and you have a right to be upset. You have a right to feel the pain just because you are still a teacher.
Yes.
Once a teacher, always a teacher. And you feel for your colleagues in the profession.
Yep.
Let me say to our viewers, Randy, to start off, if I don't know if you have the pictures there, but you put those pictures up there where you have the installed Irfan Ali and Priya Manik Chan with those little children. Put
Well,
that picture up
I'm
there.
going to get I'm
And
going to
those
get those
pictures,
pictures. I'm going to get those pictures
those
because those in itself are an indictment on
tell,
this government that speaks about one Guyana.
yes, they tell 1,000 words. You mean to tell me we couldn't find a little black girl or a little black boy somewhere along the line to put them in one of those pictures? So it is saying to us clearly who are the people that the because we care are really looking out for. It is so disgusting, Randy, that we're talking about giving $15,000 and maybe $19,000 to parents. How much will that do? How
Yep.
much will that do? In 1 week, that is going to be finished. 1 week, that is going to
Yep.
be finished. When we talk about buying school uniform, when we talk about buying a pair of boots, when we talk about buying a pair of socks, a vest, a panty. And let me say this in local terms. A panty for the little girl. I'm not sure how many panties she's going to get. I'm not sure how many briefs the young man will get. What else do you have coming from that $15,000? When during the term, that same parent will have to subsidize some of what is happening in school by photocopying work for his or her child. You still have to find lunch for your child. You still have to find transportation to get your child to and from school. When your child gets home, you still have to find dinner, you have to find breakfast. What are we really doing? Are we insulting our parents by doing this?
Yeah.
We have gone to talk about this $15,000. Is this $15,000 going to be a termly something? Or are we just showing people that we're doling out these monies because half of it will go back into our pockets, and that's them I'm talking about, into their pockets, because their friends are the ones who control the stores that the parents will have to go to make their purchases from.
Yep.
So is that because we care, or is because we want to we're finding another way of filling our pockets because they know that the opposition is on their backs to account for these monies. So if I give out the $15,000 willy-nilly, then you get receipts from persons, Oh yes, you get signatures from parents. This government is a lawless government. We have teachers who have gone through an entire academic year using their cell phone, using their computer. Their phones have crashed. Their computers have crashed. And this shameless minister did not see it fit to offer any form. Well, let me don't go in terms of financially first. Let me talk about in terms of offering commendations to teachers. You know what she did? She went out there to talk about teachers who don't want to function in the school systems. She can make alternative arrangements for them to be placed in other sectors of the public service. You see how this woman passed teachers? And teachers taught her, Teachers taught her. And that's the kind of pass that this woman, this Titira girl, this lawless non-entity girl, this is the things that she going out there to tell teachers, that teachers have been lazy. This is the same woman who told the teachers a while ago, if you don't like the salary, then leave, get out the profession. And this is the same person who want to talk about education and moving education. Randy, what is even more sad is the fact that teachers have contracted COVID while at school, while going to school, while performing at school during that academic year. Not one of them. This same installed minister that is flouncing herself all around the place, not one of those teachers received a call or a message from her to ask, how are you doing? How are you coping? No form of comfort or anything was offered to these teachers. We have teachers presently who are recovering. Priya is so shameful that she went to Sand Creek Secondary, boasting about the preparation for CXC and all of that. And a teacher from right there at Sand Creek Secondary School, 22 years old, died from COVID, leaving a child behind. And she did not find the time to go to that teacher's parent to offer some words of comfort. And those are the people who talk about because we care. These are the people who talk about because we care. You know how many more teachers have died? We have lost 7 teachers that I know of. Teachers have lost their families. Just recently, we had a head teacher whose 8-year-old son was contracted COVID. You know why he contracted COVID? It's not because he was going out and in. It's because his mother is a dedicated teacher. And apparently when she went to school, she picked it up and she took it home. Now, this child was just recently on the ventilator at the COVID hospital. And we have many more 8-year-olds like him at the COVID hospital. Now, these are the people who talk about we care, and they have not yet come forward to offer one word of comfort to teachers or to teachers' parents or to other persons who are closely related to teachers who have suffered this fate. Don't let's go into the financial issues because they're shameless. Every single time the Guyana Teachers Union approached them on the issues of the outstanding financial issues, you know what we hear every time? Oh, finances, they're waiting on finance. They're waiting on Ministry of Finance. But yet you can find $3.2 billion to share around the place. Now, I want our viewers to get this. We don't have a difficulty with the Ministry of Education wanting to assist parents. But you can't want to assist parents in a meaningless way.
Yeah.
What Priya should have been doing, like we said to her before, go out there, let's talk to GT&T and Digicel and see if we can arrange to have a package for teachers, a package for schools, a package for parents, so that would greatly ease the burden that these parents and teachers have to face because COVID will be here for a long time. And you see that crap about school being reopened in September, I'm waiting to see it. Because if we can have 8-year-olds contracting COVID, and our numbers today is what? 492, I think it is, as of today, because we had 5 persons dying from COVID. Now, school has been closed. The August vacation is on. Children are going to be all over the place. Adults are going to still be out there. No proper system in place. And then they talk about because we care. Because we care about who? Themselves.
MP McDonald, let me jump in here because I want to outline a few things for the viewers. And I said at the beginning of the program that I do not have a problem with the uniform allowance, right? Because that goes directly to the students. You can't buy anything with uniform voucher. You can only buy your uniform cloth, right? So that I don't have a problem with $4,000 to buy uniform cloth. That is perfect. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is that when we look at the whole $3.2 billion, most of it going in this $15,000 cash grant to parents. And it might sound nice from the outside. It might sound lovely. $15,000 to parents, $15,000 for a student. But anybody with any 2 brain cells understands that $15,000 doesn't really help you in any way in this country. It can't help the students that don't have internet to attend classes. It can't help the students that don't have a device to attend classes. It can't help the teachers that don't have internet. It can't help the teachers that don't have a device to attend classes. We have really significant problems in our education system where hundreds of teachers and thousands of students can't be able to connect because of the COVID-19 virus. So you would think that Preposition Priya, who is a lawyer by profession, who you assume that lawyers are supposed to be smart, would understand that there are bigger problems at foot here and that students need to attend classes.
Yep.
And you would take that 2.3 billion dollars, sorry, and invest it in meaningful ways to ensure, as the UN Convention said, that every child has a right to education. Right now, the government of Guyana, the PPP government, really don't seem to care that there are many students, thousands of students who can't access that education. And that is what hurts my heart, that you would see $3.2 billion basically wasted because most of the parents will not take that $15,000 and buy a device. They will not. As the government, you have a responsibility. Let me say this before I allow you to come back in, that the Ministry of Public Telecommunications under the APNUFC had a few programs targeted at ensuring everybody is connected. Instead of the PPP embracing that, knowing that they came into power during COVID-19 where people have to engage in distance education, instead of them embracing that, what did they do? They disbanded the ministry. So now they're starting from scratch. It is utterly despicable. And as a teacher and as a parent, one other thing before I want to add this so that persons understand how hurtful this is. I am the vice chairman of the education committee for the RDC region number 4. And I spoke to you as I was going to that meeting, and we were talking about some issues that may come up. One of the issues that I realized that was a big problem was that for the second and third term of this year, the Ministry of Education did not print any worksheets. They claim that they do not have money. And as a teacher, that hurt me to think that parents who can't afford it, their children will not get those worksheets because the instruction was send the soft copy to the parents and let them print it.
Yep.
As a parent who has a primary school child, I had to print his worksheets. What about those parents who couldn't afford it? And I say this understanding that, look, a few days after that, the ministry announced that they're going to give $3.2 billion in cash grants. Where was that money when the parents needed those worksheets?
Exactly.
I am utterly disgusted at this. I am utterly disgusted. I don't know. Miss McDonald, we speak here. We both of us are in the education system. Teachers have been reaching out to me saying, giving $15,000 to the parents, how is that helping us in this situation we're in? How?
I know.
What are your thoughts on that?
Miss Randy, the $15,000, you were talking about buying a gadget. But if you want to buy a proper gadget, $15,000 can't give you a proper gadget. Can't give you a proper gadget. And we always talk in the coalition. We always promote quality stuff. But you know the thing is, like Amanda said a while ago, some of these supporters, they are lazy. Some of them are lazy, and it happens on both spectrums, both sides. And so $15,000 sounds quite exciting and sexy to some parents. And they see it as being, this is good. But when you get down to the bottom of it, $15,000 is really nothing. It's an embarrassment. It's a slap in your face.
Yeah. I want to point out, folks, that as I said before, the PPP has an incentive to keep people impoverished because it's the poorest among us who will be excited about $15,000. The middle class and the rich really don't care about that $15,000. They don't.
You know.
They don't. So the larger that the poor population is, the PPP are benefiting because they are going to, let me tell you this, They're going to milk the PR out of this. Oh, we giving
Yep.
$15,000 because we care, right? Those, the poorest among us, will be happy to collect a little, because just imagine that you have 3 or 4 children in school. You're collecting $45,000 to $60,000. So the poorest among us happy. And so they are going to milk this before the PR, that for what it's worth out of the PR. But at the end of the day, they are benefiting, but our students who still don't have access to the internet, who still don't have a device, are not benefiting. And as I go, I'll, because we're coming up the program time, we have MP Natasha Singh coming up. But I want to point out something to our viewers, and maybe you can comment on this. That the reality of it is that this money is going to go to the private sector, first of all, because that money is going to be spent, right? And secondly, we have a situation in Guyana where, you know, people, it seems as though people are so gullible. And this $15,000 is going to seem like something wonderful.
Yeah.
But you have to think, how is this really impacting? How is this really helping my child achieve or attain an education? Is $15,000 going to really help me in the long run? Or could the government have used this money in a more meaningful way? I'll give you the last word as we try and end off this
Randy, this $15,000 is like the big flare that we had with the chalkboards that we had nailed up on posts. You remember that one? This $15,000 is just like that, where we had millions, hundreds of millions of dollars spent to nail up chalkboards in open spaces and to get a couple of persons to write, and you claim big monies for people who write whatever notes they had on those chalkboard. The big flare, and nothing else happens. Nothing happens after the flare. That's it. It's gone. And this is the same thing that will happen to the ordinary man and woman out there, the ordinary parent. After you would have received the $50,000 this week or next week or the following week, by the time school is ready to be reopened for face-to-face or interactive learning via online, the parents are back at square one. So what have you done? Absolutely nothing. Waste of time.
Yeah.
Just a complete waste of time.
Let me take this opportunity to remind those trolls on our comments right now that, let me ask, because they're asking questions, let me ask them a question. Who was it that provided buses for the poorest to go to school for free? David Granger and the APNU. Who was it that provided bicycles for those poorest students? It was the APNU and David Granger. Who was it that provided boats for those persons in the indigenous regions to traverse the school? It was the APNU AFC and David Granger. Who was it that provided boots and bags and breakfast?
And breakfast, yes.
It was David Granger and the APNU AFC. So don't come to me. But what did we do? That all that I mentioned there is worth more than $15,000, a one-off $15,000 grant that Priya, Preposition Priya, can run about and pretend that she did the world.
And Randy, let me just say to the trolls there that those monies were not taxpayers' monies that implemented those things. They were gifts that the president got. When it was his birthday, he said, I didn't want gifts. Put your monies towards this initiative. So it wasn't taxpayers' dollars like they're doing now, doling out taxpayers' dollars to do foolishness. Those were gifts that he received, and he tuned them into another direction so that Guyanese children, Guyanese parents can benefit. And that's what you call vision.
Yeah. And as we leave this program this afternoon, I want to pick up back on the point that you mentioned, that the PPP didn't even care to put a little black child on the poster. They didn't even care. They didn't even care because they don't care about diversity. There is this talk about one Guyana, but everything they do says that there's two or three different Guyanas. And MP, before we go, as we see some of the posters, they don't care. We have about 5, 6, 7 posters, and none of them have a little black child on it, you know?
None.
So
none. So
As we,
it means, therefore, that all this one Guyana that we're talking about, it's not really one Guyana. And we are seeing, Randy, if you check in villages that are predominantly blacks, where blacks live, where Afro-Guyanese live, you're going to understand that those were the villages that the children suffered the most, because the children could not, many of them could not have access to education. They could not have access to school. Their parents could not afford to print those worksheets. Those were the villages that suffered. You check it, go around this place and you check it, and you'll agree with what I'm saying. So when we hear this fancy talk about because we care, who you care about? Yourselves, and maybe those who look like you.
They care about the private sector, because that $3.2 billion is going to go straight to the private sector. They're going to be able to reflect on the numbers that are going to jump because of the stimulus in spending. And that's what they care about. They care about the PR that they're going to get out of giving $15,000 a parent. And a week later, that $15,000 is done. And the parents still can't afford to send their children to school. They still can't afford internet. They still can't afford a device.
Yep.
That is where we are. That is where we are in Guyana. And
Randy, if you recognize it. And Randy, if you check too, you might very well have listed the business places that you can go to cash these vouchers if you're given vouchers. So you see exactly what is happening there. You get the clear picture of exactly where the monies are going to be returning, and you know who will get a cut from it. And that's what they're all about. This set of corrupt people, that's what they're all about. Themselves and themselves only. And since we're on this, let me just shine this one in, Randy. I recognize that the private sector, is it the private sector, came out with a letter?
Yeah, I was about to talk about that tomorrow, but the letter speaks about this COVID infringement.
Exactly so. Exactly. And you recognize other persons are suffering while certain people who are having businesses, they are not suffering. The police not turning up at their business places. So they're open all the time, whenever, in spite of our numbers raging out of control. Nobody is stopping them. And that is because we care.
Yep, definitely. MB Coretta McDonald, thank you very much for adding your input here this afternoon. As I said to my viewers, forgive me for being so emotional, because this hits at the core. As a parent with a primary school child, as a teacher still in the system, I feel this to my core. I know I have teacher friends. I have other parents who are complaining about what is happening, and to see $3.2 billion wasted in this way, it's really heart-wrenching. I'm happy that you were able to contribute to the conversation this afternoon.
Thank you, Randy, for having me.
Right. Thank you, MP. And I hope that we continue to call the PPP out on their cow manure, as I call it.
We have to, because the teachers who are the core, who are the molders of the nation, you don't care about them, but you're giving $15 million to parents. I wonder how you expect teachers to teach when you don't care about them, because we have teachers who are still waiting for their salaries to be regularized, still waiting for their statuses to be regularized, still waiting for their increase in salaries for the last 2 years, still waiting for their allowances for additional qualification, but you don't care about them. You want to make a big flam, a big flare over foolishness.
It's a PR stunt. It's a PR stunt, and people need to call them out for it. Let me say this, though. Parents, go and collect your $15,000 for each of your children. But know that we have to call them out on the madness. Although the reality is that they have already decided to give it away. So you collect it. We have to point out to you that the reality is that this will not make any impact or change the situation that we are in right now. $15,000 is going to make an impact, but collect it. Hopefully you can spend it on your children. As you say that, MP, I know that there are many teachers who are still fighting with the government to have their salary issues sorted out, right? Salary issues since 2015, whatever long now, change the government, but right now we have a government in place and they have been treating them.
No, Randy, let me correct you. We got salary increases 8, 10, and 12% under the coalition government up to 2019 because we in 2019 up to 2018 because in 2019 we did not have a budget, and because elections was on board, the same agreement that we had signed there, it continues, and so we're supposed to have an upgraded agreement now. But even with that agreement continuing, this installed regime, they have not seen it fit to honor the obligation coming out of that agreement that was signed for 2019, 2020, and now we're in 2021.
Yeah. All right. So, but thank you very much for that and clarification. Well, I was speaking to a specific situation that we will deal with in later programs. But thank you very much, MP. I'm happy for your input this afternoon. We'll continue this conversation throughout the week because this really hurts me. Thank you. We're about to change over to Natasha Singh Lewis for her program. Thank you, MP.
You're welcome, Randy. Do have a good night.
Folks, that is it for our program this afternoon. Forgive me for being so emotional and engrossed in this particular topic because I have been a teacher now for more than 17 years and it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart to see what is happening in the Ministry of Education. And I will say to you that I'll continue to keep my eye on this particular issue, keep my eye on all the issues that are affecting our teachers and our students because our students deserve better. Our students deserve better. As we go, folks, let me just again say a shout out to our friends. That's a number there. If you want your CASRIP, let's contact them at 697-9664-650. Right? Miss Thomas, call her now, 650-768-333-5460. Folks, order your CASRIP early before Christmas time rush come. Please. Because we don't want the rush. Give them a call, folks. As we sign out this afternoon, let me say thank you very much for being a part of the program. Let us continue to work together for national development. My name is Randolph Critchlow. We'll continue to talk, folks. We'll continue to talk. Do enjoy the rest of the evening. Join Natasha Singh Lewis now for her program and then Sher Duncan at 8 for In the Ring. Do enjoy.